Jim Embry and his representatives. So hopefully everybody made it on. So with that, we will we'll stand and have a moment of silence. And if Councilor Mayor Pro Tem Salas could do an invocation for me, I'd appreciate it. And then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance and a salute to the flag. So if you'll stand with me, please.
Please join me in prayer. Oh, gracious, mighty God, a loving God, a leading God, we come to you this day, Father, in thanksgiving of all that you have created and what you are doing. We pray right now for the leadership of the village of Ruidoso, that your discernment and wisdom be granted to each member. And we pray for the protection for all the employees throughout our whole community in this nation. We thank you that you've given us the vehicle to come to you. That is through Christ Jesus our Lord. Let this meeting direct us as we demonstrate your will here on earth as it is in heaven. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Liberty and justice for all.
I salute the flag, state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol with perfect friendship among united cultures.
Among united cultures.
All right, thank you, everybody. Again, we thank everybody for joining us. Still strange. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Mayor Crawford.
Here.
Councilor Eby.
Here.
Councilor Letterman. Here. Councilor Salas.
Here.
Councilor Cornelius.
Here.
Councilor Coughlin.
Here.
Councilor Jackson.
Here.
All right. And now then we'll move into the next phase. But before we do, I just, several of us just got off the mayor's council. Again, we've been having these things about twice a week. You know, we have the chief of staff for the governor on there and usually a couple of other staffers. And then there's about 15 mayors, I think it is. But I'll just let you know, we're not getting anywhere fast. It's very frustrating. You know, according to the governor's orders, the 15th, we're supposed to move into phase 1. And so we still haven't got any direction. So just for everybody out there listening, I know a lot of you have already started calling me that we thought we might hear something about short-term rentals, about the bowling alley, liquor store, you know, hairdressers, of course, things like that, we haven't heard anything, and it's very disappointing. So we're still hammering on it. We'll have more conversations later. And but I know everyone's frustrated. I know the pressure's building, and so we appreciate your patience. Anyway, so if we can get a motion, move along approval of today's agenda.
Mr. Mayor, this is Jackson.
It's the village 500.
For approval of the agenda and also chair to move the items needs must.
Okay, you might have to repeat that. We were getting interference from John Cornelius's room a little bit. Could you restate that, please, Councilor Jackson?
Sure. I move approval of the agenda as listed and further request that the chair be given discretion to move items as needed.
Second from Hoffman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any roll call, please, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Councilor Jackson.
Aye.
Councilor Coughlin.
Sorry, what was that?
Councilor Coughlin.
Aye.
Name?
Councilor Cornelius.
John. Aye.
Councilor Salas.
So, The J and the C.
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Okay, we're working through these difficulties. I know we're still having a few counselors that are having some issues on their equipment. And so we'll move through the consent regular items. Item number 1 is approval of governing body minutes, April 7th, 2020, the workshop meeting, April 14th, 2020, workshop meeting, regular meeting, excuse me, April 21st, 2020, workshop meeting. Item number 2 is adoption of resolution 2020-19, adopting a revised procurement policies and procedures manual, providing for the repeal of prior resolutions and written procurement policies and procedures and an effective date. Number 3 is the approval of T-Hangar lease agreement between the Village of Ruidoso, Sierra Blanca Regional Airport, and Alan Sanderson for Charlie T-10 T-Hangar. Number 4 is approval of award of IFB number 2020-009B to Data Pros LLC as the most responsive and qualified firm for the automated statement processing for the Village of Ruidoso. Item number 5 is ratification of application with the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission, State Fire Marshal Division, to participate in the fiscal year 2021 Fire Protection Fund. Item number 6 is a ratification of addendum number 1 on recycling services agreement by and between the Village of Ruidoso and Green Tree Solid Waste Authority through June 30th, 2020.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent regular items as read.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Is there any additional discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Ms. Devine.
Yes, sir. Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Eby,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius,
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson.
Jackson, aye.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Now we'll move into the public input portion, and I'll ask the village clerk, Armin Devine, do we have any input? Yes?
Mayor Crawford, members of the governing body, yes, I had one request, which has been distributed. You guys have a paper copy there in your places of meeting. It's an email from Ms. Jill Andrews. And it's in reference to the Townsend lot.
Okay,
But we do want to enter her email into the record.
okay, duly noted. We all do have a letter that was distributed to us from Jill Andrews, and we have all read it. And as the rules are, is there's no comments on it at this time. Do we have anything else, ma'am?
Mayor Crawford, members of the governing body, that is the only email that that came to my attention for public input.
Okay,
We don't
thank
have
you.
any others.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, now we'll move into the mayoral reports and presentations. We have on item number 1, presentation of retirement plaque to Michael Chavez from the Solid Waste Department. He was an operations driver, and so is Michael here. I believe he's going to be here, so I don't know if I'm supposed to throw this to him and he's supposed to catch it or what we're supposed to do at this point. But it's still a very awkward times for all of us. There he is. How are you doing? Come on down, sir. And I know I'm just going to hand this over to you. There won't be any shaking of hands or any of that kind of stuff, but we appreciate your service. I know you've been here a long time. Started in July 24th, 2002, and all the way through April 24th, 2020. And we have you a little plaque here that's just in appreciation for your years of hard work and dedicated service to the community in the Village of Ruidoso. And we certainly hope you enjoy your retirement.
Yeah.
And thank you for making the choice to work here with us at the village.
Well,
So here you go, Michael.
well, it was a blessing to come over here too. So,
Well, now, do you want to say anything into the microphone?
no, just thank you all for end up letting me work here for you all.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
And we're sorry that usually we let everybody shake your hands and whatever, but it's strange times.
Thank you, Mr. Travis. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Maybe I do because I have to work at the lumberyard,
Yeah,
but I'm there till Friday and then I'm done.
then you're done. Awesome. Well, it's always bittersweet when someone retires. I'm happy that they're retiring, and I'm not so happy that we're losing. We've got a lot of good quality people here at the village. Next item is the introduction of the new Village of Ruidoso employee. And this is going to be a police officer, and I know that we're always looking for good police officers and good additions, but it's Seth Caruth, Ruidoso Police Department. He was hired March the 30th of 2020, and I'm not sure where he comes from, but we're certainly glad that he's here. We don't have him in here with us today, but at a later time when things get back to where we can be in front of one another, we'll bring him back in. But we started it not too long ago so that, the folks who work at the village will know who the village council is, so that if they have any questions or comments, they feel free to talk to us. And we like to know who's here at the village, and it's just a great way to introduce us one to another. Okay, moving on. We have an awesome, and this is a fun thing for us that we've started in the village. I don't know, I guess in the last year, but this gentleman has been talking about this kind of stuff for a long time. And there's no one really, in my opinion, that knows more about the details of the history of Ruidoso than Frank Potter. And he's here to give us a little presentation on some historic properties that we're identifying in the village. Frank, are you available? Barely. Maybe get a little closer to the mic.
Okay, we're looking.
Yeah, we can see you now. You're the one without the mask. I'll get you.
Right.
Okay.
I can put the mask.
No, that's okay, buddy. I can barely understand you now.
Okay, I don't know how the email you'll go through this, but, I'll get to it as quick as we can, and if anybody has any questions, we'll go from there. I want to thank the mayor and the council and the staff for giving me the opportunity to be able to work on this project, because it is a very fun project. It really is. It may be one of the only fun projects in the future, in the near future, that we'll be involved in with all the circumstances that's going on. As you know, and I have to tell you, I can't believe all the mayors and the council and all the years of the people that I was involved in, and all the years in City Hall, that we never did anything like this, recognizing our historic value and Ruidoso. And I just appreciate the fact that you have as mayor and councilors, and we've discussed this a lot. Preservation may not be about the past, but historic and cultural places are important to us now. And the places of historic, cultural, and significant and important piece of the Ruidoso community, and advances in sustainable economic development through maintaining local identity, supporting heritage tourism, and promoting local and regional businesses, activating historic places through creating business models, interpretive events, walking tours, K-12 education program can also give us a great opportunity as far as tourism goes in the future. We have been talking about this a little bit for the last year. So this winter, I really delved into it. And typically, we just run down to the Historical Society of the Arts Council or your local museum, and since we have none of the above, basically referred on my own personal library and community knowledge and self-observation and past experience in trying to put this together. I will reiterate a little bit. It seems odd that Ruidoso doesn't have for instance, a museum or historical society, they're all around us, Capitan, Cares also, tourism, out of the world. We're surrounded by these sorts of things. Lots of our history and this area is stored in a lot of these museums and these historical sites. In getting into the initial project, we chose with a discussion of with the talking with the mayor and some of the councilors and with Tim and Ron, we talked about just taking a specific area where those would start out with the buildings, and we chose downtown, from basically Center Street, down towards, all the way down to, or I take it back to the village started with Chase and Brownstone up in that area, and going all the way down to, or clear down the country club. And we're in that, in those 4 block areas there, what we were doing was pick out all those buildings and see what they look like in the 40s or 20s, 30s, and 40s, and then identify what they are now. We're about 90%, 95% through with that. One of the reasons we picked category 3, there's 2 or 3 things you can do in a community. You have exceptional buildings that are preeminent national or state importance, and we don't really have a lot of those in Universal. Or you can pick major buildings of regional importance and architectural value. We don't really seem to fit that category either, so we picked category 3, contributing buildings that are good local example that illustrate the character of neighborhood, grouping and scales, material proportions of other factors. A contributing building may have had some extensive or permanent change made to the original design, such as inappropriate additions, extensive removal of architectural details, removing facades, resurfaced and stucco. Widows Springs consists of 25-foot lots, and the village of Widows GIS map was furnished to me by the county staff here at City Hall, so it gave me a really good tool to work in from Chase to Country Club. And I really want to hit a point here that we didn't attempt to create a historic district, because a historic district has to be a creative council, and there's a lot of things that can be done later on if the village ever decides to do some of these things, but we just chose category 3, which is doing the inventory of a specific area and show the changes through advanced resolution. Now, advanced resolution is a pretty modern technology that you see on TV, even though you don't realize you're looking at it. What you do is you take a photograph of something, or an old photograph in the 40s, and you take a photograph of the existing building, and you tie that to an app on your phone, and you can literally stand there in town and look at the building you're standing in front of, and it shows you what it looked like in the 40s, it shows you what it looks like now. So there's a lot to do with this that you can do with it. The only building that also is listed on the federal register is the old building. The other building that is selected is the movie. Now you identify the building identify this particular area. On the history, on the front of the buildings with the history of that specific building. The entire project that we've chosen, we've extended it, hopefully with your blessings, is to take, it's going to take really numerous hours of research, because when you really start researching the history of Willow, you're going to read over and over and over again that looks very similar, because there's a lot of plagiarism going on, and just people that have got documented things and haven't really done the research on on this area to tell you exactly what the history is. So, in doing, and talking to the mayor, you know, the mayor said, you might get asked every question in the world, whether it was about rock or tree or whatever. And I said, I've been asked those same questions all my life. And the only thing is, I have a little advantage on people is I've studied all of these things. The rocks, the trees, and that has to do with earth, and it has to do with a lot of geology, archaeology, paleontology. I've been doing that since I was a little kid. So we decided to pick a time period because if you're standing, typically if you're standing on the ground and red also, you look down, you think, what kind of rock is it? Well, you're typically looking at sandstone or some type of stone that was roughly 1 million years old here, because it goes back to the early Cretaceous period, about 1 million years ago, and then we chose that period. Then we chose the second period that we would do the study on would be the Sierra Blanca volcanic area that where all of the mountainous areas here along the area that we're in, and also up through the Rocky Mountain area was created. And then we wanted to throw in and make sure we had the Sierra Blanca glaciation period in there, and going back to the Pleistocene period. And basically it's really around the 12,000 year period there, which was getting it down into the Ice Age. And we're also following that with the Paleo period, which was about only from 12,000 years ago started, basically at the end of the Ice Age. And then go on into the Archaic period, and the hunter-gatherers were around this area and roamed this country. And then follow that by the Romano-Year period, which spanned from about 300 to 1300 AD, and then get into when the Mescaleros migrated down through the area that they did with the Navajos during the 1500s, and they get into our local history from 1850 through 1940, basically. The reason we chose 1850 and 1940 is, our local history tied back to the first inhabitants of this area here in the local valleys here and so forth was started right around 1850, and then Fort Stanton was built in 1855 to protect the settlers. And for the next 15 years was probably the biggest fiasco that you've ever read when we get through this, that you will have ever read in your life, trying to understand what they were doing in the military and the Mescaleros and just what all was going on. It was pretty chaotic. Now, we have an extensive library history books, I do, obviously. We have a lot of maps of Eagle Creek, the Needle, the Wingfield Ridge, Fort Stanton. I have in my possession 4 or 5 different maps just showing the boundaries of Fort Stanton from the original fort, which was called Fort Stanton and Fort Mescalero. It was all one and the same. The Indian artifacts that we have lots of Indian artifacts around here, right here where this building sits, right around this White Mountain area. The rock formations, we can walk out any day that you can pick up any site finest schist, sandstone, limestone, salt, rhyolite, and talk about those rocks and extensive for hours. We have a lot of photographs of buildings and landscapes. We have, we're doing a history of a lot of the schools, and we have some photographs and plaques and things that we put together. And then we have memorabilia. We also, if we had a place to display it, like you have here at City Hall, you local photographs. We have enough memorabilia here with also to, I'm talking about some real museum pieces. that I know where they are and whose homes they're in and who we can ask for exhibits. We have those. We have a lot of photographs and identifying every tree, flower, and, you know, we can write for hours on that. So that basically going back to the historical periods, when we write this, will ultimately wind up being a book. And we don't know how thick the book will look like, but it's going to be an educational book. So when the tourists or people come to Universal, they can look at this book and be able to understand it anywhere from 5-year-old up to 95 and 105-year-old person. I give you an example of our ancient landscape of what it looked like here a million years ago. And then I also have books and I have photos of this and maps and everything showing what I'm going to describe. And during this early Cretaceous period, a million years ago, is the severe erogamy matured the Colorado Plateau region and subsided in the Cretaceous seaway entered from the northeast. Basically, what we're saying here is this was opened away down through the Colorado Plateau and just opened up a million years ago, and we became a sea. And it entered from the northeast and then created delta shorelines, bottom swamps, and earth deposits known as the Dakota sandstone. But the Dakota sandstone is all around there. I can pick up rocks everywhere, show you. And the mountain building event that affected western North America from Canada to Mexico was a result of a convergent mountain with a tectonic plate activity between 140 million years ago and 50 million years ago. And then the Farallon plate underneath the continental North American plate, the crustal thickening that led to the mountain building was caused by a combination of compressive forces and conductive heating, and that was initiated by subduction. And what we're saying here is that this is still going on off of the California coast. You can see this subduction plate coming off of in the California coast that's heating California and causing a lot of volcanoes. But the New Mexico area here, where we live, a lot of through here, was the more volcanoes and more upheaving here during that period than anywhere in the northern hemisphere. The Farallon plate underneath the continental North American plate that doing all of this created what we call the late Cretaceous period, and that's where you get your shale, was the bottom of the ocean. So when you're looking at sandstone, you're looking at basically, if you walked up to a lake, you saw the waves washing up on the lake, and it kept washing up on the lake, and the tides and creating that. What you would finally see there was a form of sandstone over millions a year. And then also the limestone that you see that is here was basically the Cretaceous. It's nothing more than Cretaceous from trilobites and things like that, and shales that float to the bottom of the ocean and creates the bottom of the ocean. So then as that got pushed up by the mountain building event, we're sitting right on top of this, and we're able to see all of this. So hopefully this sounds as exciting to you people as it does to me when I go out and on a daily basis, I see this. I see every bit of it. And we want to be able to just explore this to the public in the way of a book and some good written history that will explain every bit of it. When we get down to the local part, and this is about the end of my presentation, from the 1850 to the 1950s, we will not look at plagiarism and try to just look at a book or a recorded history and say, yes, this is what happened, it started with we will delve into that. We will go into the National Archives in Washington, D.C., the Federal Records Center in Denver, the University of Arizona Press, the University of Arizona Records, Doña County, who's got a tremendous amount of history on the Red Rosal. And if you really get into it and you read about it, one of the things you'll find, and I'll give you a very small example here to line this up. In the National Archives in Washington, D.C., the Gallup Mill was built on. And when Paul Allen, Captain Paul Allen, when he decided to choose that site for a mill, and I won't really take hours to explain the history of why he really did that. But the reason he really did that, he basically went back to the Homestead Act of 1862, and he filed a Homestead Act of 720 acres, which was basically from about Crezo Hill, the Chamber of Commerce, back down into what we refer to as Palmer Peak, back down Fort Swing. So just by him getting there, you can find all of this, and this isn't just hearsay, or it isn't something that somebody just wrote in a book. This is documented archival history that we will look at, and under my guidance of these 8 sections, these people writing the history of Ruidoso, I'm going to make sure that we follow real history of Ruidoso, and therefore we hopefully will write the first history of Ruidoso in its real proper context. And we'll give you another little example there. 1885, when Old Cree came here, and he basically owned the ranch that where we're sitting right now. You could go into that, basically 2,500 acres. He basically did the same thing, only he bought his Cree ranch from 2 previously owned ranchers who had been here and established their ranch under that same act that now the mill is on. So basically, that lines it up pretty much what we attempt to do here. On the buildings downtown, we'll keep working on that. And we should really get that able to be able to do something within the next 6 months or so. And I'll stand for questions if anyone has any.
Does anyone have any questions for Frank? I mean, the stuff that he's already gathered is so exciting. You can answer the questions about you don't read anything about Ruidoso and the Lincoln County Wars. You just don't hear any of those things. And so to understand how, Cree Meadows was named, people have argued that it was after the Cree Indians. And so now we know it's some guy named Lord Cree, but it's exciting stuff. And we are closing in on a position where we can have this stuff on display, a lot of old photographs. We can find out more about Councilor Lutterman's heritage with the Wingfields. That's going to be exciting stuff. So anyway, just answer a lot of basic questions about how we got started, where we came from, give us, I think, a better identity, and hopefully it'll get people in the community excited too. So Frank, I thank you for all the hard work you're doing, and we hope to recruit you some help in writing the book and getting some different ones excited as I am about it. So I just want to thank you, Frank.
Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I also want to thank Frank for all of his hard work that he's been researching on the buildings downtown. And then, of course, all of the history of how this area came about. Very interesting. I can't wait to read his book. But I've been friends with Frank for a long time, and I enjoy and appreciate him sharing his knowledge and love of Ruidoso with all of us. And so thanks a lot, Frank.
One thing I might mention, Mayor, this is actually not going to be my book. It's under the guidance of the village. A lot of times books are written, history books are written by the Historic Preservation Council. And I don't even propose to do that. What I would propose is we write this book, but this book actually be owned by the village of Red also. And this book, any kind of proceeds that would ever come off of this book, if we ever do get it to the point to where it's a sellable item, that you could continuously sell this book, say in a museum store or somewhere or anywhere in Red also, and the proceeds would go toward enhancing and developing and continuing education of the history of Red also.
That's right. Yeah, we started this as a project. It's just that Frank has a lot of the knowledge, and he knows a lot of the people that have that knowledge, and we're trying to gather it up as fast as we can because some of them are not going to be around much longer. And so we're excited about that, and it will belong to the village and be all things village. So thank you very much, Frank. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
You bet. Okay, we'll move on, and I was given permission by the council to move some items around on the agenda to better facilitate things. So we'll move on to boards and commissions and appointments. And we're having an addition to the Lodgers Tax Committee, and this is Lori Robertson. She and her husband, their family have been in town for a long time. They have several businesses in town, and she will be occupying the position of a business interest on our lodgers tax. They have 25th in Midtown. And so we're very welcome to have Lori on the committee. And she's a little shy, so I know people are going to have to work with her to get her to open up, but I think she'll be a great addition. So I would just like a motion to approve my appointment.
Mayor, this is Councilor Eby. I move to approve the appointment of Lori Robertson to serve on the Lodgers Tax Committee.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions about Lori and Todd, her husband? Okay, we'll have a roll call, please.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius?
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, folks. Now we'll move on to the village manager report.
Mayor, under the manager's report, I got the presentation from the 12th Judicial District and the Administrative Office of the Courts. Mr. Campos, I believe, is moving on to a different position. So there's a different project manager that we're going to be working with. But I believe Judge Bryant is also on the Zoom. So does somebody from the office of the court or Judge, do you want to start off?
I will, Tim. Mr. Mayor,
I think we lost you, Judge.
Council, we want to thank you very much for giving us a little bit.
Freezing up.
Keeps freezing up, Judge. And we're working on that internet problem as we speak, buddy. We're getting fiber in town. Can you hear us, Judge?
I'm getting fiber here at the house too.
Good deal.
Anyway, I want to introduce you to Scott Grubitz. Scott, please go ahead and give us an update.
Yes, sir. Scott Grubitz, and I am the replacement for Luis Campos. On this call as well, we have Rupel Engineer from the architectural firm, and I turn this over to Rupel to make that presentation.
She's on mute.
All right, apologize for that again. And
Mayor as well as council members. Thank you for allowing us this time. We wanted to do a short presentation of where we are. As some of you may know, we had authorization to proceed with the project design phase, and we have started working on the developing the design as we presented to you. It seems like a distant future ago since last 3 months. So I am going to share my screen if that works. Let me try. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see it? Can everybody see it or not really?
We can in the council chambers. Anybody else want to sound off?
We're all right here. We can see it also.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, great. So as you may recall, our project will be located on Horton Complex towards the more triangular end where the Reese Street and Service Drive come together. This is the footprint of the proposed magistrate court. And then there are 2 public parking lot. And everybody see my cursor moving?
Yes.
Okay, great. And this will be a secure staff parking lot along with a secure kind of modified Sally Port area to bring the detainees van in. As I mentioned, these are going to be more technical drawings. So this kind of shows the floor plan of the proposed courthouse, magistrate court. And that is the main entrance, secure entrance with a security desk and X-ray as well as magnetic scanners. Public waiting area and gallery, clerk's area, the main courtroom, and the hearing room on the side. So it's very similar to what you have seen before. Now we are going into more detailed construction documents. We have a construction manager company, which is Bradbury Stamp Construction, on board. So they are helping us put together the cost as we move through the different phases of design and make sure that we stay within our budget projections. Just a quick, brief view of the elevation. And I apologize, these are not exciting as what you have seen before. So we are still going with a, metal roof, wood accents, kind of very much in line of the vernacular architecture of the village. So that's where we are. Obviously, we also have our mechanical engineers, structural engineers, electrical engineers working with us on side by side.
Hold on 1 second.
The project is moving along just well. Sorry about that.
Rupal, we have a question.
Rupal, we have a question. Go ahead, Rifle.
Mayor, if you could turn off the light in the council room because there's too much glare that I can't see anything that's on the screen.
Okay.
Is that any better?
No, I just made it more bright. I'm watching through YouTube. You can leave them on. It didn't do anything better, so
Okay.
I'll try to follow along. Thank you.
Okay.
Rupal,
So this is just, like I said, it's a brief overview of our ongoing construction documents. We are moving ahead with getting our kind of schematic design cost feedback from our construction manager and general contractor team. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer in terms of the actual design and the drawings. And then Scott can answer any procedural questions as well.
And Rupal, if you could be, this is the mayor, could you maybe send us an email with those elevations or drawings on those so we could distribute those to the council?
Yes, sir, I will.
Okay, thank you. Hey, does anyone have any questions, updates? I know the judge has got to be getting excited.
So this is Coughlin. Question is, I noticed in the original drawing that you had up there, the number 1, the rotation of the building looks like it's gotten about 90 degrees, which is a better layout for it. but are we still talking about the same basic footprint on the land use, or did we expand the amount of land that they're gonna be using to accommodate that?
That is a good question. We did have to expand a little bit towards the maintenance shop, about by 15 feet or so, because as you can see, we are awfully close to Reese Drive, where my cursor is moving.
Right.
So just to allow the little bit of more safety and breathing room around the new court building, we had to move further towards the existing maintenance shops.
Okay, so the maintenance shop is still existing, it's just not showing up on these drawings?
Yes.
Okay, that was
Right.
it.
No, we are now more kind of zoomed in on the site itself.
Sure. Okay.
And I will gladly send, we have a full site in which this footprint is, so you can see the relationship, and I will send that along with the rest of the drawings.
It's amazing what 15 people do. So, great, not a problem. I like that quotation there.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Do we have,
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to say thank you all very much for working with us.
Absolutely.
do we have any updates from the administrative office of the courts on the financing processes and where y'all are on that process?
Sadly, I've been here a very short time. I'll be glad to pull together a report and get that to you, sir.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, we were just wondering with everything going on in Santa Fe, if the funds will be there or just how that's going to happen. So as soon as you can do that, we'd appreciate it.
I'd be glad to, sir. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if that's all for item number 1, go ahead, manager.
Mayor and Council, the next report is going to be by Jerry. Are you on there, Karen, Jerry, and Phoebe?
Yes, we're all here, Tim.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so Jerry is going to give us an update on the Shoreline project and, you know, all the work that they're doing out there. I know that there's some major milestones that they've accomplished, and there's a few challenges that they're facing as well. And, you know, we're going to be working through this the best that we can. But Jerry, do you want to go ahead and give us an update?
Yes, so let me share my screen. Can everybody see the flow chart?
Yes.
So, Steve, with me is Steve Morrow, also with Moles and Corbin, working on the project. So this is a process we've been following to get this project done. The surveys go to Moles and Corbin, and we update them as needed and then send them back for completion. At that point, we get high water mark involved. They put on the environmental limits and wetland boundaries and start identifying with us trees of concern. We take the trees into a separate path. We get our landscape architect involved. We get your forester involved, and we make determinations on all the trees out there. Once that's done, the geotechnical report is being done again separately, but it goes into everything that gets onto our plate where we've got all the information we need to start redesigning. As we redesign these sites, we go through the design report analysis that the Corps of Engineers approves, and we look at all the impacts. If there's too many impacts, we've got to change them and go through this process before they come out to the very end. So in quick summary, I wanted to show that the surveys are like 98% done. In fact, they're all done. We've just had to cut, some of them are still in this loop of being updated. They're giving to us as we're going through. So we're not waiting for all the surveys. We're going through this whole process one site at a time for all 40 sites. And so at this point, the trees, majority of those are done and looked at. The high water mark, all their information they put on the drawings is about 90% done. We've got our design work about 70% complete in this area. The geotechnical is 100% complete now, and so we've got all of that information. The design report has all been written. It's just being edited as these documents, as this design work gets done in this circle. So that's about 90% done. We have sent a number of these documents to the Corps of Engineers and to NMED for the reviews already. And so rather than wait till the very end, we have been working with them in a very collaborative effort, kind of as a team. The team meets every week, and there are sidebar meeting with some of the agencies so that we can get these approved kind of as we're getting them done. The benefits that we had, I mean, given this whole complex quagmire that we've been in this last year, I mean, and the fact that we had to redo the survey and the EA limits and all of that, I think the big upside to this project is that I think we have a lot more certainty. We have a lot more clarity that with this design level that, you know, what tripped this is that because of the level of survey, last time we were not really, what tripped the Corps up is that we weren't really ready to say 100% definitively there wouldn't be many changes in the field, and they weren't comfortable with that. FEMA wasn't comfortable with that, and that prompted the new survey. Now we have clarity. Now we can say with certainty that the level of impacts aren't increasing, and that we do find that we're able to stay within the environmental limits. And that's a pretty big thing. I mean, that's something that we couldn't attest to last time. I couldn't even attest to it back in January, but now that we've gone through this process, we have a lot of clarity. So a lot of the obstacles, a lot of the bugaboos that have tripped us up in the past as we've worked our way through this whole process has brought a lot of clarity into that, so that we aren't going to exceed the environmental limits on this project. And so I think that's a huge win for our team. The other thing is that we haven't, going through these impacts, we have not increased any impacts to the wetlands, the ordinary high water mark, or there have no been cumulative impacts that have occurred. So I think that's another very positive thing. All of the structures that we're designing, all 40 of them, are being designed efficiently. And so that's a good thing. So we have a lot more confidence in the design. We had a lot of huge contingency because there was a lot of, based on the survey, there was a lot of concern that we were going to have a lot of construction changes. So I think with all the new information, all the new geotechnical, remember we spent about $260,000 on geotechnical alone to get that clarity on what's underground. So we've got a pretty good X-ray of what's subsurface. And so that's added to a better, more efficient design, and that's I think that's a benefit. The other thing that was of concern, because there was a lot of uncertainties, is when these structures grow in size, which also means cost. And so now I think we've got a better cost control going into it. The structures are not growing. The structures are staying. The structures are not growing at all. I mean, I would say some are getting a little more efficient, some are growing a little bit, but cumulatively, there's not a big impact. If anything, it's more efficient and streamlined. So I think that's a big plus. And I'd just like to say, you know, as a team, we have moved through this, your staff, our staff, your forester, your water staff, your grants administrative staff, Phoebe and her coordination with all the agencies, as we coordinate this whole scheme with them, it's allowed us to submit these designs one at a time instead of all in one package. So these are coming out, the ones we sent, the last few that we sent to the Corps of Engineers, we're not getting any comments. They're complimenting on us. Chris Parrish and Davina from NMED, they're complimenting us on the completeness and thoroughness of this. So I think we're making a lot of headway. We are in the fog of war. We are very, you know, we're struggling as we go through this job. It's a complex job, but I feel good, like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We're able to eliminate a lot of the unknowns that we had before, and that's been a benefit. It's been very collaborative with the agencies also, so that Again, if we're able to, as we finish this thing out, if we can stay on course to minimize any impacts to the wetlands and the environmental footprint of our project, keep them to the size they are and not grow them any bigger like we have been able to do so far, then it makes the FONSI and everything else follow a lot quicker also. So that weekly coordination has been very pivotal to making this thing move. And as we slip here and there, the agencies help us adjust. They've been willing to step up and meet outside and approve things outside to help keep us rolling and moving on the project. And with that, I would just stand for questions.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Jerry?
Mayor, one of the things that I just want to state, you know, that it gives me quite a bit of comfort is that, you know, knowing that they're going to be able to design this project within the environmental limits, that was one of the things that had me very nervous. If we would have gone outside that 50 foot, we would basically have to go back and start the whole EA process all over again. So, you know, the project right now, you know, I know it's taking more time than what we've anticipated. But I think we're going to end up with a better project. We're working within those project limits and getting it designed correctly. Phoebe, is there any concerns from a timing perspective on where we're currently at and the timelines that we're working on?
Thank you, Village Manager, Mayor, and Council. Good to see everybody. I know it's from afar, but to answer your question, Tim, Mr. Dodge, right now everybody's on board. As Jerry said, we've been coordinating every week at the minimum, if not every other day. We've been talking with FEMA and Army Corps and EP or NMAD. And so right now, we're just waiting on the final designs. Everybody's all in gear. We're all talking. So as soon as those final designs come out, they're ready to roll. Just to let everybody know, the requests for time extensions have been submitted. The state is submitting those to FEMA. We're about a month ahead of time of those submittals. So, but we just didn't want to take any chances. So that has already been done. We are going to continue with our bi-weekly calls with FEMA and Homeland Security and the village and the city of Rio Doce Downs. So that's also ongoing, as well as, to answer your question simply, I think everybody's in line, everybody's communicating. And so I don't see, once the designs are complete, any real hiccups. SHPO's been engaged. They are reviewing package 1 out of 2 packages. As soon as package 1 is complete, which is estimated on May 20th, to have their blessing on package 1, package 2 will be submitted the day of or the very next day from FEMA EHP. And I just talked to Alan Hermele a couple of hours ago, and he said, yes, they are still on that schedule.
Thank you, Phoebe. And Phoebe, I just wanted to thank you for all the extra work that you're doing with the Governor's Council and the engagement that you've had with us. You know, it's really helped out for us to be able to give you information, and I just appreciate you listening to us on that. I know it's a little bit off subject, Mayor, but you know, Phoebe's been a very busy person and helping us quite a bit too with our reopening plans. So.
And I hope that the governor has some good news for us today, tomorrow, sometime. I hope so, because there wasn't very much information in the mayor's meeting today. So anyway.
Okay. So, and thank you, Mayor. And I just want to, again, throw that out there. You know, please, if any of the council members have any questions or concerns related to the reopening and the ongoing navigation of this pandemic, please feel free to reach out to me. I know I've talked to the mayor a couple of times and to the village manager, but I'm all ears. I have been trying my best to advocate and also reach out to local business owners in Rio Doce. I got some language in some of the COVID safe practices for some of the short-term rentals yesterday. So just to let you know, really advocated for that definition for some of those small businesses in Rio Doce area. So the offer's out there. Please feel free to reach out to me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Phoebe.
Back to the project at hand. I know, I'm not sure if it's a Jerry question or a Phoebe question. The property on Sleepy Hollow, did we make contact with those individuals and get that squared away, or at least a plan?
Mayor and council, yes. We did talk with Stephen this morning in depth. We went through the designs, and just to share with everybody, there was a property on 137 Sleepy Hollow. On the first phase of the restoration, there was no requirement for easement. We were outside of any discussion. But now that we're going through the hazard mitigation, and the first round of the hazard mitigation, there was going to be no requirement for a permanent easement. But where the added activity in the area of Sleepy Hollow is the surveyors going out to look at the temporary construction easements. So meaning that's short or long for access to the site. And so we wanted to take, we're working with Mr. Cook, the forester, to identify any potential trees that might be encumbering the access. So we've been going out there. So Mayor, I apologize. I haven't had a chance to send an email follow-up after our calls with the property owner today, but I will do that immediately after this. But we've made contact with them. We've talked with him. He's also requested to talk to Steve Morrow, who is the hazard mitigation engineer. So hopefully, Steve, you'll be able to do that if you already haven't today. But we're gonna follow up that with an email and let everybody know that that's where we did meet with him in February. We actually met face-to-face in February in those 30-minute sessions. So we confirmed that as well. So we just need to continue the communication and engagement from our property owners there in the village.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there any other questions from the council on the sewer line projects? If not, thank you, Phoebe. Thank you,
Jerry.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
We wanted
guys.
to be there in person, but I understand.
Yeah, well, I can't wait till we get back to that day. This is cumbersome.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mayor, moving on real quick, a couple of other things I want to hit on under my report. First of all, I just want to convey to the governing body that Judy has submitted the budget. It was transmitted. They have received it, and the analysts were very happy to get it so early. I think we're probably one of the first communities that have submitted our budget, and it really makes a big difference on their workload when we're early and timely on our submission. So I want to thank Judy for her efforts in getting that in early and taking care of it. Last week we had conveyed that we received a memo from Deborah Romero freezing the legislative appropriations. Well, between Zach and Ron, Zach informed us of that this didn't pertain to any public safety issues or water issues. So Ron has worked to get those monies encumbered, and I believe we're pretty much in a safe zone with the money that we have for the Horton complex, since that money is going towards the courts, the municipal courts and the dispatch center. Those are considered safety concerns. And then on the water project for the new tank project. So Ron, is that correct? You've gotten those encumbered?
That's Mayor Crawford, members of the council. I've submitted the notice of obligation on the agenda item we have this afternoon on the final design of Horton. Also on the Plan 3, I spoke to NMED, our project manager, yesterday. Once we issue a notice to proceed, we'll encumber through a notice of obligation the remaining funds and the two appropriations that could have been affected by the freezing of the capital outlay. So it looks good. Both agencies have been working with us, so we really appreciate their help in Santa Fe and those two agencies.
So great job, Ron. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
In addition to that, Ron's been working with Chief Thetford and Joe out at the airport. There's right about 60-some thousand plus dollars that we're applying for through the CARES Act to receive some money back through some of the expenditures for the operations out at the airport. Do you want to touch on that briefly, Ron?
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, so the Sierra Blanca Airport, we had an application through the CARES Act for $69,000. So we submitted all the signatures on that. We'll receive a grant agreement. We actually received a document today that I've submitted forward to Judy for the ACH. They do automatic with a deposit into our account for $69,000. We should be receiving the grant agreement, I would say, the next few weeks for the mayor's signature. And we're going to utilize the funding for personnel. So we're able to go back into there's a certain days when the COVID began, and we'll be able to supplement that the airport budget with that 69,000. Then we can utilize that for some other. We had some maintenance requirements for our FAA inspection, and we'd like to be able to fund those and be able to use that supplemental funding for that.
Okay, great job, Ron. Mayor, under the radio station, you want to talk a little bit about what we've done on that?
Yeah, go right ahead.
And,
Absolutely.
I think there's a call name that you want to kind of introduce.
Oh yeah, we picked the name KRUI, The Mountain. So that'll be the radio station. Of course, on the top of the hour, we'll have to identify it as 1490 Ruidoso Downs, Ruidoso, New Mexico. But it'll be called The Mountain Radio Station. So I thought that was a pretty good name. That was still available.
Yes, and then in addition to that, we had talked about moving the radio station on a temporary basis over to the Horton Complex. The mayor put in a call, and they have agreed to allow us to continue to house it temporarily at its current location. So we won't be incurring an additional cost to relocate it. And then once we get our permanent site, have to relocate it again. So that's another thing that we wanted to kind of give an update on and let you all know that what occurred on that. There's a lot going on. Mayor, I appreciate your leadership through this COVID process. As Councilor Salas, I know that you're in on the mayor's council meeting today, and I think you saw that in a lot of areas, the village of Ruidoso is ahead of the state and other communities in the way that we're approaching things. And that's with the great leadership of the mayor and the council. I'm really appreciative, and it means a lot to the employees that the governing body got out there and worked with them in the Midtown area with this Ruidoso Safe Plan. It really means a lot to me, and I just want to thank you all and tell you I appreciate you all. So with that, Mayor, I'll stand for questions.
Does anybody else have any questions for the manager? And again, yeah, we all did really appreciate the hard work that the council did in your yellow t-shirts in Midtown, talking to people with your masks on about Ruidoso Safe. So you guys really led by example out there. And then make sure everybody noticed in the manager's report that Councilor Eby was reelected to the New Mexico Municipal League District 6 directorship. And it's a fine patriotic picture that's in the manager's report. So we appreciate Joe representing our district again this time. And so he's always up on all things that are New Mexico municipal. So appreciate it.
Mayor, I did have one other thing.
Go right ahead.
The Housing Trust Fund. We
Yes.
got a call from Hubert Quintana. Is there any counselors that you think that would like to volunteer to be on the state's Housing Trust Fund?
Do we have anybody? It was a councilman. I thought they wanted to.
We can do council or community members.
Is there anybody on the council that would like to be on the New Mexico Housing? Is it the commissioner board? Trust fund?
Meets quarterly, and we would submit the name for a recommendation if any of the counselors would be interested in doing that. They meet on a quarterly basis.
So it's about doling out money. I mean, it sounds like a lot of fun, and there's not going to be any travel for some time, but it only meets quarterly.
would nominate Counselor Jackson.
So we have a nomination for Counselor Jackson. Does Counselor Jackson want to run from that, or would he like to accept it or argue it?
I would respectfully decline. I think I have enough irons in the fire right now.
Okay. If we don't have a counselor, then we will go outside the council to a citizen that's maybe someone that works in the area.
Mayor,
Yes.
I believe John Cornelius would like to.
I second.
Is that a fact, John?
Yeah, maybe I want to talk to you about it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, at least we got a suspect, a target now. Awesome. Thank you very much. Anything else?
No, that's it, Mayor.
Okay, so moving on, we will move to reports from public officials. And so we'll start with Councilor Eby, since I can see him.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I just want to express appreciation to all the administration and also all the employees that have been working hard through this coronavirus. I know things have been hampered and it's put a little bit of I'll just say a grip on the style, but they've gone out there, they've been educating people and pretty much our hands are pretty much tied as far as what we can do because of the governor's directives and such, but y'all are working hard and getting out there and being very proactive instead of reactive, so appreciate that. And I know that just want to extend my just to the people who really also having to what they're going through, and we feel your pain, we know what's going on, and hopefully get this past us and get things back to normal. So appreciate all your hard work, and you also, Mayor, being part of that mayor's council with the governor and trying to get things moved forward in a positive direction, and just get off one. Just hike the ball and let's move.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Letterman?
I've got something to say.
Get after.
I'd like to say the same thing that Joe said about the Red Oso State. I appreciate so much the leadership of Manager Dodge and Deputy Manager Sena and the directors and the employees who took the time to, stuff the bags and do all the legwork. They did a great job, and it is being proactive. I enjoyed it so much getting out, visiting with business owners as well as people walking the town, and I think it was a great reception. I think, there were some people that aren't going to wear masks, but we told them to have a good day and we went on about our business. So that was a great way to be proactive, and I appreciate the leadership there. I also would like to say congratulations to the 2020 graduates of Red Oso High School. As we all know, these are times that no one has ever gone through, and it's making these seniors very special because they will have their graduation in history, not being able to do the regular graduation. But I think that our school district has done a great thing by allowing them to go ahead on their announcements. It was May 17th at 5 p.m. And they are going to go ahead and have a wonderful parade on Gavilan, Suttereth, and Meacham with our officers leading them, and then stopping at the convention center in their cars, drive-by, giving out their diplomas. And so I appreciate everybody coming together, the administration, the village, the teachers, the parents, who worked very hard to at least give the seniors something to remember this special day. So I would just like to say congratulations. I've got a grandson, Caden, who is graduating on Sunday. So this has meant a great deal to our family. And then just one last time, Mayor, to tell Tim and Ron, all the managers, the directors, the employees of the Village of Rid also, the village councilors for their leadership, and of course your great leadership, how much the last 2 months, I just have felt so good about the things that have gone on. It's been kind of out of our power, but yet we persevered and made the best that we could. And I just appreciate so much your leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, sir, Mayor. Thank you. And yes, I agree with Councilor Letterman and Evie, and congratulating Joe on getting that position on the District 6 board president. And yes, Susan, I agree with you 100%. This is going to be something in the history books for graduation of Ruidoso. And I look forward to cheer on those that are graduating. Actually, Shippen and I, we're going to go park in the parking lot, and if I can find my Warrior flag, we'll be waving it for them as they pass by and stuff. So I encourage everyone to do the same, which I have a feeling a lot of public will be in the parking lot honking and stuff. But again, Mayor, I want to thank you too, as a lot of people. I know you've been getting a lot of heat, a lot, and I appreciate your patience and tolerance of just, certain citizens that just don't, get the whole picture. It's what I've experienced. It's all about me, and here and you've been confessing it's all about community, and I appreciate that. So, and once again too, our employees, they are awesome. They've done a good job to this point. What's really going to be hurting is summertime approaching us, and I know some of or a lot of us, we have planned, summer vacations and stuff, and now it's questionable, are we even wanting to go anywhere? But I hope that this time, as our summer residents come in, that they'll adhere to all our standards of just being here in the mountains and enjoying what we have. So with that said, Mayor, again, applaud everyone involved in keeping Ruidoso safe. And I do like that call name for the radio station, The Mountain. That's going to go really well for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Rifle. How about John Cornelius?
Thank you, Mayor. Like the other counselors, I want to thank you, Tim and Ron, and all your hard work. I know you've been taking a bunch of grief about it, but by not fighting the governor on everything and working with her, I think you've gotten some good concessions for the village.
Welcome to my teleconferencing.
And, on Saturday, when we were downtown handing out masks, there were a few people that weren't interested, but overall, we got good reception, and most of the business owners understood and appreciated having some masks so they can pass out to their customer. So hopefully we can stay safe and keep this open. We sure don't want to get shut down in the middle of the summer. And I'd also like to thank Frank Potter for all his hard work on the historic properties, and hopefully we can get that together in the near future.
Thank you all.
Thanks, John. Tim Coughlin?
So I proved most of you wrong in that I could actually walk through Midtown for 3 days straight. There were bets I know I heard behind the scenes, but walking through with village staff and with the other counselors the past weekend with the Ruidoso State team, we were handing out mask gloves and information to visitors. And like John said, most of the people were very pleasant. In fact, those that declined masks were still pleasant about it, and we had some really good conversations. People were up here from Roswell, Texas, Las Cruces, all over the place. The love for Ruidoso was definitely evidenced by the crowds at Grindstone and Alto Lake so early in the season. And then, that's something we're going to have to look at and how we can control those crowds as we move forward. But my heart goes out to those businesses and individuals that have been affected by these difficult situations. My appreciation goes out to all of those that keep things running, those employers that are gearing up to protect their employees and customers when they're open, the rest of the village council and staff have been putting in countless hours to help the community. And then this Friday at 5:45 p.m., a group of 4 F-16s from Holloman will perform a flyover over Ruidoso to pay tribute to all of those frontline workers in this COVID pandemic. So keep your these guys at 5:45. They'll be flying over Ruidoso.
All right, thanks.
That's it, believe it or not.
All right, thanks, Councilor Coughlin. Councilor Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Most everything's been said that could be said. I think the take home I got from the walkabout was that these businesses are hurting, and we don't know how many will really extend to the point that they can't read. And though they weren't having their heart on their sleeve, it was clear that that was the overwhelming message, and they want to work, and they want to be productive. And that goes to I think, to the culture of the village. Also, Mr. Mayor, I wanted to thank you also. If there was ever a man who had sleep deprivation, it would be you. I've never seen so much across your desk, and the items that you participated in, and especially the programs, especially the mayoral council, to help represent us and at least get someone south of 40 a voice. That is deeply appreciated.
Well, thank you all very much. Okay, we're hoping that Councilor Salas is going to join us on this phone number again. We got hopefully a better line for you guys to hear him on. So I guess now we'll move on to the regular items. We have a public hearing items. We don't have anything on public hearing, do we? Okay. Councilor Salas, did you make it back?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so he's back, folks. Okay, regular item number 1, discussion and possible action on adoption of resolution 2020-20, adopting the Village of Ruidoso water system level of service.
Mayor Crawford, councilors, I'm Eric Whiter, the Watershed and Water Rights Director. This resolution that we have in front of you is for the water utility level of service. And if you guys remember, the level of service is going to establish our goals for the water utility services provided. This is one component of the asset management plan that we're working on with our partners at NMED. At the workshop meeting, Councilor Coughlin requested that I review the level of service document again with the water utility staff to make sure that we can meet all of the goals that were established in this agreement. And after talking with Adam Sanchez, the Public Works Director, and Randy Kane, our Water Production Manager, they made only 2 recommended changes to the level of service. And I'd like to discuss those with you. If you guys have the level of service agreement up, there's a section, it's the 6th item in the list of the level of service. It's the real water losses will be reduced by 2% over previous year's levels as measured by the annual water audit. After discussing it, we would encourage to reduce that down to 1%. if you guys are agreeable to that. And then the other change is the next item below. It's been requested that the seventh item be changed from non-emergency brakes to emergency brakes.
Okay.
But other than that, the staff felt that we will be able to maintain this level of service for the utility.
What was the worry over the 1%? Over the previous levels, is it?
It's just 2% compounding over and over could be difficult to meet, and we can always, this is a dynamic document, so if we're repeatedly failing any of these goals, we can discuss with the governing body again and see if we want to reevaluate the goals or maybe we need to change priorities. So if it's something that we want to stick to the 2%, I would welcome that too. We just thought it might be a little bit ambitious, because we're going to have projects that we have, steep declines in real losses, but then we might plateau for a little bit.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions of Mr. Boyda?
Yes, Mayor, I do, or at least one question. And I don't know what bullet point it is on there, but under normal operating conditions, system pressure will be maintained at a minimum of 20 PSI. Is that enough? I'm just thinking of the homes that are on the hillside, that 20 PSI might not be enough to supply those.
So 20 PSI is the drinking water obligation for us to do that. And so we're only obligated through drinking water standards to provide that level of service. And so if somebody has a hillside home, as long as they have 20 PSI at the service connection, they can install a booster pump that it can increase the pressure in their system.
Okay, I see what you're saying. It's on the hilltop pressure, not more of the bottom of the hill.
Yes, yeah, it is. It's just that that will be the minimum pressure that we'll provide at any service meter tap. And I think Adam wanted to chime in. He came on.
I think you covered it, Eric. I was just going to state the water, state drinking water bureau.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Okay.
Eric, thank you for going back and talking to the team. I just want to make sure that whenever we have goals, they're attainable and they're within reach. Not that we're trying to make things easy so you guys can just, rest on your laurels and get done. But I don't want to set us up for failure. So thank you for going back and the entire team coming together and working on that and making those two little minor adjustments.
Yes, thank you, Councilor.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Eric? Okay, so we'll need a motion, please.
Mr. Jackson, Mr. Mayor, move and adopt resolution 2020-20, adopting the Village of Ruidoso water system level of service, reflecting two changes on item number 5 to reread real water losses to not 2% of 1%, and a rewrite of item 6 to reflect changing non-emergency brakes to emergency brakes. And I so move.
Second.
Okay, no more further discussion. Roll call, please, Mrs. Devine.
Yes, sir. Councilor Jackson,
Aye.
Councilor Eby,
Aye.
Councilor Letterman,
Aye.
Councilor Salas,
Aye.
Councilor Cornelius,
Aye.
Councilor Coughlin.
Aye.
All right, item number 2, discussion and possible action on agreement CES number 19-01B-C302-all with Wilson and Company, Inc. through Cooperative Educational Services for professional, architectural, and engineering services for the Ruidoso Joint Utility Service Building Services Building and Yard in the amount of $186,913.20, including gross receipts tax. Adam, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor Council. This is for the site plan and building or architectural part of the building for our new water building, the joint utility building. The services for this, it's the rerouting and giving a close road around the RJU building. The engineering for the concrete pad of the building, employee parking, the ballers and mitigation to the existing wellhead for protection for Hollywood Well, the fencing for the street yard, going in the street yard, new gate, extending the existing utilities from the bottom to the new yard, the setup for the utilities in the building for the phones, and then the HVAC, of course, the HVAC system, architectural includes the showers and the one office and the warehouse space for the building. The other part of it is the geotech. This also includes the geotech, the ponding area for the RGB building, and utilizing the south side of the property for emergency overflow of the existing ponds.
Okay, I know this is a long time in coming, so does anyone have any questions of Adam?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
just, Adam, can you give us some clarification on the numbers earlier? We had talked about 750 that you had set aside. What's the complete build out on this project? And, I just want to make sure that we're clear that this is not just representing the building itself.
The actual building itself is spec'd out to be, and this is just the shell. The shell includes the doors, windows, or the roll-up doors, 8 roll-up doors, 2 access doors, emergency door, and the windows, and that's at right at $80,000. That's for the shell, and then you're looking at the concrete. Now, as far as like the site plan is concerned and the utilities up to the building, that will be in-kind services from the Village of Ruidoso, the street department, and the water department, and the sewer department. So we'll be doing the grading and a lot of the ponding and stuff in-house. Does that answer your question, Manager Dodge?
Your total estimate at this point was how much?
The total estimate we got from Wilson was anywhere from 2.2 to 2.4 million. That's just a shot in the dark.
Yeah,
from them.
A lot of the work will be done in-house.
Yes.
So they're talking about development of the whole site, and we're not going to need to hire a contractor to do a lot of the leveling, grading, road work, utility work. So, this is going to include the plans and specs for all that, but not all of that's going to be contracted out.
And that's for the entire site.
Yes.
It's not just the building.
Correct.
No, that's for the entire site, yes, sir.
Okay.
And we just wanted to, bring that up because, we're designing a project that's 2.2, but we're only going to be, building out or paying out a smaller portion than that.
Okay.
The main part of this is going to be the architectural design, the utilities, HVAC, and like Manager Dodge said, we can do a lot of this in-house as far as the grading and site plan.
I appreciate that explanation. I know at the last meeting, I kind of was surprised at 186,000, and the dollar figure that was thrown out at that meeting was much less than 2.2 million. And then afterwards, I found out that was almost like a hard cost. And with all the work you guys are doing, you're going to save the village a ton of money. So that this design plan is for the entire project, but we're not going to go out and pay somebody to do all of it. We can do so much of it in kind and in-house and save a ton of money. So thank you for doing that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, it's only taken him about 5 or 6 years to get this close to the building. He'll build it himself if he has to. I mean, I think he's had enough. So any other comments or questions?
Well, at least this isn't a FEMA project.
That's true. That's true.
I'll go ahead and make a motion if you'd like.
Move on.
Okay, so I move to approve agreement CES 19-01B-C302-all with Wilson and Company Incorporated through Cooperative Educational Services for professional architectural and engineering services for the Rudos and Joint Utility Services Building and Yard in the amount of $186,913.20, including gross receipts tax.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Counselor Coughlin,
Did I hear aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor
Aye.
All right, moving on. Item number 3, discussion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Mr. Mayor, this is Howard Kaplan with Wilson and Company.
yes, sir.
I just want to thank you and the council and Manager Dodge and Adam. Thank you very much. And we're looking forward to this project and working with the village and getting Adam the building he so much needs and has wanted for a long time. So thank you very much.
Well, Mr. Kaplan, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were on the line, or I certainly would have recognized you, but thanks for speaking up. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Item number 3, discussion and possible action on final architectural design proposal for the Horton Complex remodel renovation project in the amount of $59,684.93, including gross receipts tax, through Cooperative Educational Services Agreement with White Sands Construction. Ron?
Mayor Cropper, members of the council, this task order here with White Sands Construction through the CES price agreement, this will complete the final design. We're hoping to have a period of 60 days. Would begin in June. Following the 60 days, we would have White Sands submit us a proposal through CES. And this would be for the finalizing the remodeling and the improvements to the Horton complex, which will house the consolidated dispatch, the municipal court, and the secondary mainframe for our IT. This proposal will be utilizing the capital outlay, the 2019 capital outlay funding. 1% will be paid out of local match. We can't pay the admin fees for CES through the federal appropriation, but we'll move forward then and then reissue the notice of obligation and then wait 60 days and then issue for the construction period also. I'll check for any questions on this project.
Mayor, Ron, can you elaborate a little bit more about how we use the current plans that we had to reduce the cost on this project?
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, we have utilized the existing plans from Rio Doso Drafting and from Cape Architectural to include with the final design. They have been utilized. Also, White Sands has they had an original cost around $79,000. So in utilizing the original plans, we were able to bring the cost down. We've been working with Stan Cape. He had some additional costs where he had to complete it with we had balances on the purchase orders. So this was within budget to move forward with the final design.
Good job. Real good job. Any other comments, questions of Mr. Santa? Okay. Would like a motion, please?
Jackson, Mr. Mayor, move to approve final architectural design proposal of the Horton Complex remodel / renovation project in the amount of $59,684.93, including gross receipts tax through Cooperative Educational Services Agreement with White Sands Construction.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Edie,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius,
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin.
Aye.
Alrighty, moving right along. Item number 4, discussion and possible action on task order RFP number 2019-004P-07 with Riverbend Engineering LLC for professional engineering services for stormwater management at Horton Complex in the amount not to exceed $88,801.92, including gross receipts tax.
Eric?
Mayor Crawford, councilors, similar to Adam, I went through and did some calculations for the total project cost for this area, because there is quite a bit of in-kind match services that we'll be doing in-house. As you're aware, we're looking at developing a comprehensive stormwater management solution across the whole Horton complex. And we've already started the relationship with Wilson and Company to do they're working on the civil design work for the courts room. And our stormwater solutions will streamline that process through the property. We'll also be looking at doing some minor stormwater projects on the school property, on their parking lot, and Tim and I are still working on the parking lot sharing agreement with the school districts. But the engineer's estimate of cost for the project, the stormwater solutions, was approximately $323,000. And you have to realize too that cost estimate was developed for the original Horton Complex site concept that included the RJU shop building there. So this will change a little bit, but we can assume that it will be right around approximately $300,000. And then with the repairs necessary to the parking lot, Chris did a really rough estimate of the cost for paving and estimated it at about $213,000. So the total rough estimate project cost is just a little bit over $500,000. With the project, we're also going to be working on developing a phased approach, our proposed approach to the parking lot that will provide opportunity for the street department to pave it in sections that don't have a big influence on the stormwater projects or any modifications to the parking area. So with that, I would like to propose one modification to the task order, and that's based off of the comments that Councilor Cornelius provided, to change the estimated performance time from May of 2020 through May of 2021 to the end of 2021. And it's not that we want to drag our feet on this process, it's just we've got a lot of stuff going on at Horton Complex, and this will give us the ability to possibly delay bidding the project if we need to, so that we can complete the interior renovations and the courtroom. Does anyone have any questions?
Eric, when we're talking about stormwater management at Horton, does that include just the service road parking lot, or does that include parking lot on the Reese Drive side as well?
So there's not a lot of opportunities for us to do any type of catchment off of the Reese Drive parking lot. We were looking at implementing some solutions in front of on the north side of the shop building. But that's about it. Mostly the drainage will discourage building drainage from going that way. So we're going to try to avoid adding more drainage in that direction.
Okay, during heavy storms, it floods pretty good that way. It does run off, but there's ponding in various areas of the parking lot, and it gets pretty good there.
It's just such a pinch point as you go down Reed's Drive around that corner. There's really not a lot of, there's not an appropriate size without making serious concessions to the parking area, which we aren't interested in doing at this time.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Boyda? Okay,
You want me to make a motion?
I would love for you to.
I move that we accept task order RFP 2019-004P-07 with Riverbend Engineering LLC for professional engineering services for stormwater management at Horton Complex in an amount not to exceed $88,801.92, including gross receipt tax, and also to include Eric's amendment, instead of, I think he said May of 2020 to May of 2021, that it would extend to the end of 2021.
Second.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, pretty good. Yes, ma'am, roll call.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
I believe it was Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Eby,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius,
Aye.
Counselor Coughlin.
Aye.
Okay, all ayes today. Item number 5, discussion and possible action on appeal from Mr. Jim Embry on the village administrative decision to deny his request to drill a domestic well under Office of the State of Engineer, file number H74 at 540 Suttereth Drive. And I believe that's Mr. Boyda.
Mr. Cook was going to introduce this subject for us.
Dick, are you there? Oh, Cook as in the lawyer Cook?
Zach Cook, yes.
Okay, Zach Cook. We got a bunch of Cooks around.
That's the mayor and council that I think you're all aware. Mr. Embry was at an old well that my understanding it was plugged up, and we went to drill a new well, and I think Mr. Kelly Castles is here too, so we'll talk about that. But what it boils down to is Eric, according to our ordinance, denied his request for a permit because of the well that he's drilling is within 300 feet of village water. So, and the ordinance allows us to deny those applications if there's access to the village water within 300 feet. And we get that authority directly from the statute. Our ordinance is written almost from the state statute that allows us to deny his application. So that's where we are, and the ordinance doesn't expressly provide for an appeal to the council, but Mr. Embry wanted to appeal it to you guys, so that's what you're here to do. Either decide to uphold Eric's administrative decision or to reverse it. So with that, I think Mr. Castles had written a letter to Eric explaining his legal arguments for why Eric should not do that or is not going to allow him to do that. So I talked to Mr. Castles earlier today. They didn't have a great big presentation, but he did more discuss his letter a little bit more and then stand for questions. So Mr. Castles.
Thank you all, Mayor Crawford and councilors, for letting me appear and participate in your meeting today. I do represent Mr. Embry. I think Mr. Cook properly outlined the facts. Mr. Embry has a water right, a domestic water right that was issued to him by the state of New Mexico in 1954. The old well caved in, and I guess the casing caved in, and the equipment, the pump and all that stuff is at the bottom of the the well in order for him to be able to divert and produce the water that the state's given him a permit to do. He needs to drill a replacement well because he can't use that old hole. There was a Bill Power that I think works for the village that was on site looking over the building and construction activities on the site, and he had told Mr. And again, it's Mr. Embry's own fault for not checking, but that if this was a replacement well, if he got a permit from the state, they would be good to go. So they went, applied for a permit from the state engineer. The state engineer gave them a permit to drill a replacement well. The well was drilled all the way down to, everything's done on the well, except for casing it and putting a pump in it at the time the stop work order was received by my client. So he's in that and doesn't have a source of domestic water on his land. You're right that, as I understand it, Mr. Boyda, who I hate to be cross-eyes with Mr. Boyda on anything related to water because I think he's a very good man. I know that he's done a very good job for the village up there, and I appreciate him and I respect the work that he's done. I also understand that the village has a very valid interest in protecting its water resources. So I'm not saying that the village doesn't have a valid reason for trying to protect its water resources. I do think that were the ordinance construed to apply only to brand new water wells, where there was going to be a new water diversion, my client, if that was what he was trying to do, he wouldn't have a leg to stand on in this appeal. But if you construe your ordinance so that it prohibits, it basically keeps him from being able to divert the water right. The engineer granted that property in 1954, almost 70 years ago, then it in effect takes from my client a water right that the state has granted to him. I don't think Mr. Boyda would have complained or even said that there was a problem, and he can confirm or deny this, but I think he's told my client that if we've been able to use that same well hole, and if we've been able to go in there and pull out that casing and pull out the equipment and been able to divert our water right from the existing well bore, then there wouldn't have been an issue. But since the well bore was lost because of the casing caving in and the equipment being stuck in the bottom, we don't have any other options to produce our water right but to slide over and drill this replacement well, and that's what he's done. There won't be any net change in the amount of water diverted. There won't be any additional water wells into the aquifer. The replacement well will replace the original well. The original well will have to be capped and properly abandoned in accordance with state engineer regulations. So there will not be any change at all. It's not going to be a new diversion of water. There won't be an increase in the number of wells on his property. It's just he needs a well to produce the domestic water right that has been in existence for 70 years. Again, if the ordinance that we're dealing with is this 86-33, it doesn't speak to replacement wells at all. It just speaks to new wells. And Mr. Embry knows that there's a difference in replacement wells and new wells as far as water rights are concerned. And that's all my client's trying to accomplish, is just drill a well to replace the one that's caved in on it. If, in real direct terms, the state, Mr. Embry, the right to produce 3 acre-feet of water every year on his land for domestic purposes, and the way that the village is construing the ordinance takes from him that right. If he can't drill a replacement well, he cannot make use of that water right that he owns, that the state has granted him. You all know better than I do how valuable that water right is up there. He gave money for it when he bought the place because he thought it was an important part of the purchase. And if he can't divert the water, then he's lost that water right. And that's, I know that's not what the village's intention is, but it is a taking of his property by a governmental entity without due process and without any sort of a compensation. And I don't say that to threaten anybody. I just say that that's the basis of his appeal. He owns a right that the state has granted, and the way the village is construing this ordinance basically takes from him the right that that the state has granted it. The state says that he can do one thing, the village says he can't do that thing, and that puts the village's ordinance, or at least the construction of the ordinance, at odds with the state statute, which, as you all know, the state statute trumps the village ordinance. I think with that, I've said everything that I wanted to say to you. I did want to read you my letter, and I'll answer any question that I can of you all. Again, we're not trying to increase diversion or increase number of wells. We're just trying to put this guy back to where he was.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Cook, do you have anything else to add, or Mr. Boyda?
No, Mr. Mayor, I don't have anything.
Zach, are we gonna recommend going to executive session, or?
Council have any questions? Mr. Council.
I can't hear you, more attorney.
I've got one question. Councilor Eby,
Give us
how long
opinion.
has that,
I don't know.
the existing well been inoperable? How far from that have you drilled a new well?
My client measured the distance from the old well to the new well, and it was 142 feet, and he just measured that. I mean, I'm not, it's not exact, but 142 feet away from the old well. And I don't know how long that the original well has been caved in. I know that the state, that they would not have granted him a permit to replace his well if they felt like he'd abandoned that, if that water right had been abandoned. There was a home there, I know. He bought the place. I think that he has raised that home. He's going to build a new home there. But he did go down and get a permit from the state. It's in the materials that Mr. Boyd provided to you all.
Thank you.
Zach, what, did we get an opinion from AJ?
He stepped away, Mayor.
Okay.
I spoke with AJ Olson for 20 or 30 minutes about it, and he didn't get back to me with anything, but we did speak.
Mayor, what was your question?
Did AJ give us an opinion on this?
AJ wrote kind of a memorandum of law. Yesterday he said that. I was going to discuss the contents of that with you guys if you want to executive session.
Okay.
So, Mayor, I have a question. So I am illiterate when it comes to drilling wells. All I know is there are holes in the ground, water comes up out of them. But I'm kind of relating this to, let's say, a building. So if a building collapses, then you have to build a new building. Is there, and Eric, this might be something you know much more about wells. So Mr. Castles is saying that the well, the casing has collapsed. Is it still possible to drill back down through that and remove and rehab that hole? Or is it impossible, or is it being done this way because it's a economical, you know, less expensive to go and drill a new well?
Well, if you're asking me, sir, I know that when my client got the notice from Mr. Boyd, and I think Mr. Boyd told him if you make use of the existing hole, there couldn't be a problem. He spoke with the well driller, Mr. Huey, and Mr. Huey said to fish that casing out. And once you got the casing out, if you could get it out, then you'd fish out the pump and the other equipment that's in the bottom of the hole. He thought it would be speculated that whether you could actually fish it out, and if you couldn't fish it out, you could not drill down through all that trash that's in the hole. So that's why they drilled a new water well to the side of it.
Well, but you said it was 147 feet away, approximately.
I think that's I think that's right. 142 feet is what he said.
140 feet to me. So again, I don't know about wells, but it seems like, okay, if you can't use that existing one, then you move over just a little bit and drill it on to the complete other side of the property. But then that becomes becomes a new well?
Yes, I'm not quite sure, why they chose that location, whether the well driller chose the location. Sometimes locations are chosen based on, just the ease with which you can get into it and drill a well, I think, but I can't speak to why they chose a particular location. I've not seen it with my eyes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, if there are nothing else to cover on that, I would like to see entertain a motion to enter into closed session for discussion real quickly.
Mayor, I make a motion that we enter into closed session and discuss this issue and render a decision when we come out.
Okay, and this is, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Would you please have a roll call, please?
Mayor Crawford, if I may ask a question for clarification on the motion from Councilor Eby.
Is it for attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation?
Yes.
Yes.
In which the village of Red Oak said, okay,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
okay, roll call.
Councilor Eby,
Aye.
Councilor Salas,
Aye.
Councilor Letterman,
Aye.
Councilor Jackson, Councilor Jackson,
Aye.
Councilor Coughlin,
Aye.
Councilor Cornelius.
Aye.
All right. So we will now enter into closed session. So we'll be pausing the portion that is public and also closing